Squid Game was released on Netflix less than a month ago, and it has taken the world and the internet by storm. Because of this, it's not surprising that people have come up with hundreds of theories revolving around this show. It's also not surprising that some of these theories have been equally as creepy. So let's have a look at just that. And if it wasn't obvious, there is going to be some major spoilers for the series. This first theory is pretty simple, and it's quite dark when you really think about it. The idea is that every player, whether they win or lose, is simply doomed from the start, and even if the winner walks away with that insane prize money, they will squander it in some way, shape, or form and end up right back where they started. The participants of the Squid Game were all deeply in debt, and almost all of them play the game to get themselves out of trouble. However, they are also gamblers, addicts, and people who have quite a few dangerous vices, and the organizers take advantage of this fact and use it to make the players participate. So what if they win? Well, they'll obviously be very rich, but these vices will still exist and they could easily blow their money in no time whatsoever. For example, we know that the police officer, Jun Ho, finds out that his brother won the contest in 2015, and we later find out that his brother is now the frontman. Why would somebody who won the equivalent of $40 million be doing a job like this? Well, people have theorized that he lost all of his money and now works with Player 1 to repay his debt, which is entirely possible. It may also explain why Player 1 brings Ji-hun in to question why he hasn't spent any of his money. After all, this would mean that he has not fallen victim to the endless loop that is Squid Game, and he could become the exception to the rule. When you think about it, it not only makes sense, but it's also a very dark theory that keeps these players in the game for the rest of their lives. The second they join, there is no way out even if they win, and the only way they will ever truly stop playing is when they are gone forever, just like the rest of the contestants. This next theory is a little bit far-fetched, but it's interesting nonetheless. It suggests that the creator of the games, Player 1, is actually Ji-hun's father. To start off, Player 1 deliberately seeks out Ji-hun after they initially leave the games. He tells him that he's rejoining the game, and he has a pretty long conversation with him in the process. There are still over 200 players in the game at this point, and Player 1 goes out of his way to talk to Ji-hun. Now, to be fair, they did talk when the game started, and maybe Player 1 simply had a soft spot for Ji-hun because of this, but there is more to this theory. A glaringly obvious piece of evidence is the numbers that they wear, with the creator of the games being Player 1 and Ji-hun being 456. The first and last numbers they could possibly be. This obviously could be coincidental, but in this world, nothing seems coincidental. Everything seems rigorously planned to a T, so it is entirely possible that this was done deliberately. There are also some interesting pieces of dialogue that support this theory. Player 1 actually says that his son was just like Ji-hun, and when they play the marble game, Player 1 also says that he lived in an area just like this, and Ji-hun says me too. Again, this isn't some kind of unequivocal proof that they are related, but here's an interesting idea that people have put forth. Player 1 is dying, but wants the games to continue, so he gives his long-lost son the ultimate test by entering him in the Squid Game. If he wins, he takes over the company and carries on his father's legacy. We know that Ji-hun did pass this test, but we also know that he does not avail of this prize money, and instead he is riddled with guilt and ultimately vows to destroy the game. This would make this theory quite dark, but it would also make for a very interesting second season, and if that is the plotline they go for, I can't imagine it being that dull. Let's talk about the second last episode, specifically the dinner that the 3 finalists have, which was a means to congratulate them for making it this far in the game. However, some people have theorized that maybe this dinner wasn't an innocent prize, but instead a haunting metaphor that took the game full circle, with this meal actually being the remains of the contestants that had fallen short in the contest. This is backed up by the fact that player 67 barely touches her food, and then later comments that it wasn't cooked very well. However, she was severely injured right before this meal, so the fact that she didn't have a very big appetite is not that surprising. But we know that Squid Games and the people who control it are big fans of tradition, and they have seemingly done things in a very similar manner for quite some time. In the games, the players constantly turn on each other and even kill each other when necessary. Maybe making the finalists eat the remains of their fallen peers is another tradition of the Squid Games that the viewers simply weren't told about. It would kind of make sense in a weird, metaphorical sort of way, but apart from that, it does not have any substantial proof behind it, and I can't imagine it being explored much further. This last one isn't so much a theory, but it's a pretty cool and dark bit of storytelling that happens throughout the show. This is the foreshadowing of many prominent players' deaths. We have Sang-woo, who is on the brink of taking his own life before he re-enters the game. He decides not to, but at the end of the game, he goes through with it. There's also Player 101, who jumps off a bridge to flee his captors in an early episode, and he ends up dying in the bridge game during the contest. Ali's death comes after Sang-woo steals his marbles, and earlier in the show, he takes the money that he's owed off of his boss. There are actually a few others if you look into it, and it is a very interesting storytelling technique. Again, this isn't really a theory, but it's a good example of how dark the show is. We were pretty much told how these characters were going to go, and it almost makes the outcome of the game feel inevitable. And that is it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. This was just a quick video I threw together to talk about some of the more interesting theories revolving around this show. Just like everybody else, I've been fanboying over this show since it came out, and I wanted to make something about it in some way, shape, or form, so I hope you enjoyed. I'll leave a couple videos right here that you can go and check out, and if you want me to cover any other disturbing media, whether that be movies, games, comics, whatever it may be, please leave a comment down below letting me know what you want me to discuss, and I will do my best to get around to it. But like I said, that's all for now. Until next time.